Today, the average millennial or Gen Zer in the U.S. has 9 social media accounts. But studies show that people who use 7 or more are 3 times more likely to experience depression and anxiety. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Erin LeBeau.
And I'm Tamsin Fidel. Well, so the daily time spent on social media, it just keeps increasing, right? Because there's more and more out there to do. It jumped 60% between 2012 and 2019 to 2.5 hours. As a result, people are neglecting the joy they get from activities in real life, like getting together with friends, getting out and enjoying nature, even attending events.
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be that bad or like that. Social media can actually have a positive impact on your life. So joining us now to talk about healthier ways to use social media is Isa Watson, a physical scientist turned social scientist. Thank you, first of all, for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tamsin and Erin.
All right, so we always hear not everything you see on social media is real. So you say there's a lot of truth in that. What do you mean by that?
Well, we've been conditioned to present the positive elements of our lives on social media. And what it does is it empowers people to, show their positive accomplishments, their successes, their I got into Harvard posts, and not as much as their failures or their setbacks. And so what that does is it kind of really just amplifies this loneliness epidemic that we're in, and really drives people to be a lot more harsh on themselves.
Type of gap in between kind of real life and social media for a lot of people.
100%.
So let's talk about it, because I think my husband will be happy to hear this, because he sees me scrolling constantly and it's exhausting him after a while. He thinks I spend too much time on social. So you say there is a way to have a healthy relationship with social media, and it can actually strengthen some of your relationships or friendships. So what is your first tip?
My first tip is to make sure that you don't assume what your friends post on social media is the whole story. Oftentimes, like I said, we were posting these positive snippets of our lives, our marriages, our, successes, but not our divorces, right? Or not our failures or bumps in the road. And so it's really important to balance out our friendships, which is the source of a lot of joy as a human, with, communicating and connection-oriented activities. So getting together in real life, as well as, phone and things of that nature. But it's really important to make sure that social media is not the only place you are with your friends, and that when you are engaged, that that that's not their whole story.
It's kind of hard, too, when you're out with friends who are more into social media and always want to take photos. Like, I'm that person, I'm like, do we have to take another photo? Like, they just stop asking me because I don't like to. So, but you say stop spending all that time scrolling. What should people be doing then?
Yeah, so we have gotten into this area of endless scrolling. So it's just so easy just to sit there and scroll, and then boom, we've lost an hour of our time. I always say scroll less. Exactly. I always say scroll less and message more. I call it the content sunken place, right? Of just constantly looking at the dreamy vacations, celebrity news, world news, etc. But the reality is that leveraging the connection-oriented tools that social media has, like DMs, is actually more connection driving and more fulfilling for our friendships overall. So, if you're gonna spend time on the platform, I encourage people to spend more time messaging their friends as opposed to just endlessly scrolling through content.
Oh, I think you're right. Everyone's going to get a whole bunch of messages from me this week. All right. Well, finally, you have a rule when it comes to social media and bedtime. What is that rule?
I'm looking at you.
I know you are.
My rule of thumb is to spend 1 hour off social media before you go to bed, and to spend 1 hour off social media after you awake.
Okay.
Dr. Brené Brown is my favorite psychologist. She studies vulnerability a lot. And one of the things that, she always says is that we live in this life of scarcity. Yeah. So the first thing we think about when we go to bed is, man, I didn't get enough done. The last thing we think about, or the last thing we think about when we get up in the morning, is, I didn't get enough sleep. And so it's really important for us to separate on both sides of our day, or to create space between ourselves and all these positive snippets. And so that just allows us to just be a little bit more present, have a bit more fulfilling relationships, and, just can navigate life more.
Right.
There was a reason you were on today. There's a reason you're here.
I think it's also hard with social media too. Like you say, there's a gap between reality and social media. You don't want to seem like Debbie Downer on the platform. You know, like, oh, I'm depressed today. You know, we all have times that in seasons that we go through things, and you don't want to, you know, expose all of that, I guess.
And that's why that offline and in real life component is actually so important, because that's where we're actually, you know, giving the whole story as opposed to just that, like, hey, I got a promotion.
Right. Okay. Well, you also developed your own social media app. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I founded and run a company called Squad. Squad is, in contrast to social media, where you're endlessly scrolling and, you know, broadcasting your content. It's an app where you go, we call it the intimate social experience, going deep with your closest set of friends every day. Generally audio driven, but essentially this is where you and your 12 closest friends can hang out, can exchange voice messages, live calling in a very fun and easy way. We're backed by, at this point, some of the nation's biggest Silicon Valley venture capital firms. And so it really just supports the fact that we're in this big shift of social that's driving more towards connection as opposed to just the content.
Oh, I like that.
I like the voice messages, because I do that instead of texting a lot. I'll just like say it and send it.
Yeah, it's really smart. So what made you decide to want to create that type of app, just from what you were seeing out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was my personal experience with social and the way that it was making me feel very lonely. You know, I went through my own personal tragedy after, you know, being a chemist and vice president of strategy on Wall Street. I went through a personal tragedy where my father passed away in a highway accident. And it really, you know, took me back to my core. And, you know, the one thing that I realized was that I had thousands of friends on Facebook. When I was on Instagram, I had thousands of followers on Instagram. I had thousands of followers on Twitter. But in that moment, when I really needed connection, I had never felt more lonely.
Wow.
And so
unreal.
I think the driver of joy in life is connection, and Squad really makes it easier for people to tap into that. So it's just something I'm just really committed to helping people experience every day.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that with us. I'm so sorry for your loss, and I appreciate you sharing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamsin. Thank you, Ernie.
And thank you so much for joining us. We're going to have you back again, because this is a conversation I can feel keep going and going.
Thank you.
Thank you.